Welcome to a new Daily Top Askreddit video. Today's topic:
what is denied by everyone but actually 100% real? The you in your head is not the you that everyone else knows, sees. In fact, every single person has a different view of who you are. The biggest trip of this discovery for me was considering that my evaluation of myself might actually be the least realistic. It's your actions that define you entirely in others people's eyes, whereas my definition of self is based almost entirely on internal thoughts. If most of those thoughts never translate into action, how real are they? We judge others on their actions and ourselves on our intentions. So true and such a mind fuck. I remind people of this with, I'm not the me you think I am. And, you're someone different to everyone you know. Quote. We physically judge people when we first meet them. The first thing we judge a person on is looks. Depending on that, we assume their character, intentions. We have a saying in my home country, people greet you based on your looks, and they dismiss you based on your intelligence. You are much more likely to believe whatever side of a story you hear first. Kids know this one for sure, that's why you gotta rush to the door when mom or dad gets home so you can tell your side first before your siblings. But I think most people that have had to deal with the police also know this, whoever calls the cops first, wins. So, years ago my best friend went on vacation out of the country and I had no way to contact her. While she was gone I caught her boyfriend going to a club and trying to cheat on my friend with someone that I knew. I had no way to tell my friend in real time and had to wait for her to come back from her trip. I knew I had to get to her before the boyfriend got to her with some made-up story. The boyfriend knew he had to beat me to the punch, and he did. This motherfucker met her at the airport and proposed to her before I could tell her what he was up to. People often brush off gut feelings as just random, but there's some real science that suggests intuition can actually lead us to good decisions. As I understand it, intuition is basically a computation made by the subconscious based on all our previous experiences. Removed. Everyone is susceptible to bias. We all think it's something that just affects other people. Part of having bias always is that you think yours is the thought-out reasonable and just one. People can be turned against each other easily and sometimes they are both right or wrong. Edit, thanks to you, Dakif, for pointing out that everyone is on a morally grey plane. BC, I feel at least outside can always affect others' opinions, meaning things like background, inspirations, tradition, etc. Sometimes everything is just better discussed over a cup of tea. IMO, and if you like tea, lol. Money doesn't buy happiness. Watch me leave IKEA full of joy with a 100 centimeters plush shark. I have this plush shark and can confirm it brings pure joy. Did you know the giant snake plush is a puppet? Exclamation mark. That looks matter. Beauty is the number 1 or 2 best privilege in society. I'd say beauty is number 2 and knowing the right people is number 1. Beauty helps to get to know the right people. When most people say, everyone, they are most likely seeking confirmation bias. Also false consensus effect. https://en.wikipedia.org/wiki/false_consensus_effect, aka, people assume their POV is the mainstream one more often than they should. Everyone is stereotyping and judging others constantly, it's human nature. That the system someone lives in has an impacting influence on behavior. Material analysis intensifies. Don't judge a book by its cover, that's literally what covers are for, so you can judge the book. Totally agree. If people shouldn't judge a book by its cover, why do publishing houses have marketing personnel and graphic artists? Question mark. I saw your text but responded in my mind. Nah, that one is super real, sometimes multiple times over. That they don't judge. Everyone judges, it's just a matter of keeping it in your mind or letting it out. That 95% of the answers in here aren't denied by everyone. Nobody denies this. I deny. Being addicted to your cell phone. I have a few friends who use their phones for work, so I understand it partly, but their face is staring at that screen constantly throughout the whole day, every single day. We're in some group texts and they not only respond within seconds to everything but they're posting all the time. Lol, on this note I'd better put my phone down for the day. You are not immune to propaganda. Everyone claiming they only checked their phone for a second when they've been scrolling for an hour. Especially when driving. 2020 is 4.5 years ago. The release of the first Pokemon games are closer to the breakup of the Beatles than the present day. SpongeBob episode where Patrick says, "Is this mayonnaise?" premiered before Billie Eilish and Greta Thunberg were born. The marriage, and divorce, of Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake are closer to the fall of the Soviet Union than the present day. There will be people legally voting in the USA presidential election this year that never saw the Twin Towers, never saw Destiny's Child as a group, and have never lived in a YouTube-less world. Time is crazy. It's not, is this mayonnaise? It's, is mayonnaise an instrument? Quote. Social media making the world worse and causing mental health problems. Everyone knows this. People who are addicted or use it to make money disagree. Children don't bounce back quickly after a traumatic event, even if we like to think they do, because they continue to function. Their brain just isn't yet equipped to deal with trauma, so handling the memory is delayed. That's how we get messed up adults who need therapy. Children react differently to trauma. Some react this way, and some really do just get over shit. We shouldn't tell all of them that they should feel traumatized just because they went through some shit, just help the ones that actually are. I had a lot of extended family members die when I was a kid. Everyone always thought it was super odd that I had basically no reaction. I heard a lot of different people process grief different ways. Truth is, and I was smart enough to not tell them, I didn't care. These people weren't in my life more than 3 days out of year. They were effectively strangers to me. I simply did not care about them. So when I was dragged across country to attend a 4-day wake, funeral, whatever, I just played video games all day. There was literally nothing else for me to do. Now, I'm fully aware I'm not typical. I barely care about my immediate family, but immensely care about unrelated people who have become my family, and that most children probably would be traumatized about death. I'm just offering a small bit of evidence towards, some kids really do get over things, because something might not even be a thing towards a particular child. That knowing your limitations is as important as knowing and cultivating your gifts. This, you can do anything, rhetoric just messes with a kid's mind. I prefer to say, you can learn anything, because that seems more accurate to me. For example, I am 5 feet tall, but I always loved basketball as a kid. It would be foolish for someone to say I could do anything and become a professional player, because the reality is my body is not really built for that, which is okay. I still played basketball for several years, learned a lot about the game and was pretty good at it. I think it's important to be realistic but not pessimistic about your goals in life. You can become proficient in many things you work hard to learn, is pretty accurate for most, but not all. I think it's natural to gravitate toward things that come more easily. Exposure to many things, even if it's in books and movies, is key. That it sucks to be fat. Ask someone who was. I lost almost 200 pounds via dieting. The reason wasn't primarily to look better. It was because being morbidly obese is insanely uncomfortable. I was so happy to get my thigh gap back when I lost weight, not because I cared how it looked, but because having your thighs rubbed together all the time so uncomfortable. As someone who currently is, but wasn't always, I can 100% verify. Being fat hurts, both physically and emotionally. Physically there are certainly levels of disability. Sometimes we cannot walk well or can't stand for very long. Sitting on the wrong chairs is uncomfortable, and getting up from sitting can be strenuous. We don't sleep well because we can't get comfortable in bed. We get pressure sores and cracks, backaches, knee pain, leg cramps, etc. Some of us can't put our clothes on without help, some of us have trouble reaching everywhere we need to get clean, or to cut our toenails. Far too many of us are alone and have nobody to help us. It's easy to feel embarrassed and ashamed at our shortfalls. For emotionally there's the people who outright stare, whisper, giggle, make comments to each other, the people who make jokes, or snide or even directly disparaging remarks, and the people who, maybe, mean well, and give us helpful advice. Most of us fat folks know we should eat less, exercise more, etc. Many of us have hidden illnesses or pain that may make it difficult to exercise. Maybe we can't afford the best foods, or maybe we're too worn out to cook the proper meals or to exercise. Plus once the weight is there, and we've tried before, many of us have given up, especially if our body is not responding to our efforts. We know you're judging us, whether it's directly or indirectly, we know you don't accept us as we are. Most of us really want to be in better physical shape but are not able to do it. When we try to just be ourselves, we are encouraged to and expected to change to suit society. When the body positivity movement was happening, those people who were outgoing and accepting of themselves were ridiculed. Believe me, we judge and hate ourselves enough for our shortcomings and failings, we don't need anyone to remind us. Sad-faced fat people are mistreated and subjected to widespread discrimination, in education, employment, and healthcare, just for starters. When it comes to race, skin tone, disability, age and sexuality, both conscious and unconscious bias against marginalized characteristics appears to be on the wane, according to research undertaken at the Harvard Department of Psychology. There is one notable exception, body size, which was the only form of unconscious bias that is actually increasing. Unconscious bias towards larger people was found to be decreasing the most slowly of any of the categories investigated. Society preaches kindness, unless you're fat, The Guardian. I'm a teacher and they like to reiterate that we aren't in it for the money, but are in it for the kids. I guess that's true in crappy paying areas, but where I live, I'm there to be a good teacher, for a sizable salary. Without the money, I have zero desire to teach kids. I'm glad you added this. I am definitely not a teacher, but I hate this whole narrative of, I would do this for free, like no, you need money to survive. Anyone pushing the narrative that you shouldn't do a job for the money is entirely just interested in avoiding paying you. Whenever I'm on summer vacation and someone says, must be nice to have summers off, I usually say, it is. It's one of the reasons I chose this career. Quote, everyone is not, and cannot be beautiful. And that's okay. Nor it ain't okay I need my record for ugliest man.